James. What does it mean to be Harry Potter's son? Let's see. It means that I'm recognized wherever I go, as I very much look like him. Apart from my eyes, I've got my mother's eyes. It means that everybody wants to be my mate. People treat me with respect and give me my way in anything. They look up to me as if I'm a kind of bloody god or something. Even teachers spoil me sometimes. Not McGonagall Longbottom, obviously, they are such a pain in the arse. It means that at 17, I got more babes than all my mates put together. When they were discovering the joy of a good snog, I was at another level altogether. I snapped my fingers, and girls opened their legs. It's amazing. I got money too, like a lot. Not because my parents lavish on me more than is necessary, but because, being son of him, you can get them quite easily in many silly ways, if you have some wit. And I do. For example, I just need to nick one of his t-shirts from the laundry basket after he had one of his runs. They're all the same, he doesn't even notice if one is missing. And there is always a stupid enough girl ready to give me 20 or 30 gallons for it. For a sweaty t-shirt. Ugh, I'll never understand girls. Once, and I've done it just the one, because it's very tricky and complicated, and possibly not legal, I asked Rose to brew me some polyjuice potion. She didn't want to at first. She said that my proposal was surely reprehensible, immoral, and blah blah blah. Such a bore. But at the end, grudgingly, she gave in. I protected her so many times from bullying that she couldn't let me down. Well, on Christmas holidays, I sneaked in my parents' bathroom and I nicked some of his hair from the shower. When I dropped in the potion, it was lit. Minutes later, I was my dad. Not anybody grown man, but my dad, famous Harry Potter. I stared at myself in the mirror gobsmacked, and, in the reflection, behind me, there was the mad babe that entreated me to do all this. She was already stark naked. Unbelievable. A babe way older than me. A woman. Well, we spent the next hour very pleasantly. He can keep the right mood, the old man, to be almost 40. I was slightly mortified, however, when the hour was up, and I was back myself. She actually laughed in my face, stroked my hair as if I was a little boy or something, and she got dressed straight away. Bloody bitch. Oh well, sorry. She gave me so much money I didn't ask my parents not even for a sickle for a very long time. I got a present for Rose. I bought her a book, the biggest and most boring I could find, and she seemed vastly pleased. I got my dad some t-shirts to make up for the sold ones. I tried to get something different from what he usually uses, just to be sure I won't end up selling those too, and he seemed pleased likewise. He wore them, from what I could gather from letters. Then Francis and Patrick pointed out that what I've done is probably legal and goes under the name of prostitution as well. It was surely envy speaking, but they may be actually right. I didn't do it again. I had also some scruples of conscience, I must admit. He didn't seem too right, especially in regards of Mum. But I don't want to talk about Mum. And anyway, I'm sure he cheated on her so many times that when I think about it, I go mad. And she always trusted him, so naive. She didn't understand a man's nature at all. I see how women gather around him, how they look at him. All the girls he calls groupies, ready to do whatever for him. I've seen magazines with so much as picture of him with other women. All the time I showed them to Mom, she said that it was only rubbish. But he didn't wash with me. I'm sure he bangs them all right, all those bloody girls. I would. And do we want to talk about that Regina? Going around the house as if she owns the bloody place? With all those miniskirts and tight jeans, huge teeth and everything. She's Slytherin, for God's sake! What possessed them to let her in the secret? What possessed Mum to let her in the house? Didn't she see her? Didn't she understand the danger? I see how Ted feigning disinterest, but I know better. No straight male can have Regina under his eyes and no craving to bang her until losing consciousness. I've got very firm principles against Slytherin, and yet when she comes in summertime, I must do at least one trip to the toilet to clear my mind and being able to stay in the same room as her composedly. Sometimes even twice, if the day is particularly hot, and therefore she is particularly undressed. I don't see why it should work differently for him. I'm sure they were, and possibly still, having an affair. Dad thinks I'm dumb and I don't notice, but I do. I see how he averts his eyes when she looks at him, or how he avoids being too close to her. Those are signs, if you can read them. I know he secretly doesn't give a shit Mom died. And he could have the decency not to pretend he is heartbroken. He makes me sick. But I don't want to talk about it. I'm sure when he was in Hogwarts, he was getting laid like crazy. Once I asked him about his first time, but it went all elusive. He said 17 and, like usual, changed topic. Which make me think it's bollocks. 17, as if... Is he taking the piss or what? I asked Uncle Ron if there is somebody who knows it's him, and usually he tells me stuff not like that. But in this occasion, he had been all elusive, and for some reason got pissed off too. He told me to bugger off. Dodgy. Anyway, to crack on, the meaning of being Harry Potter's son. It seems all fun and games up to now, innit? I suppose it is. But then, I cannot explain why I feel so dreadful all the time, especially when I'm in my four-poster bed at night and I cannot sleep. I feel all this bitterness and anger. I should be happy as a lark, and I'm not. I pretend to be alright. I pretend all the time, but I'm not. Even before Mom. It might be because all the people that gather around me are only hoping to be introduced to my dad. Oh, they want to be talked of him. How wonderful he is. How great. Ugh, I feel like puking all the time. They look up to me, alright? But they are always expecting me to do something amazing or other. And I feel bound to do it, or they might find out I'm nothing special after all. I feel I have to keep on a mask all the time, and it's fucking tiring. Sometimes, when I cannot sleep, I wonder who I am really beside Harry Potter's son. And there are some scary moments in which I realize I'm just nothing at all. Would I want to be my mate if I was only James? In those same scary moments, I'm inclined to think that perhaps the answer is no. All this bloody popularity amid girls has its own drawbacks as well. For example, I scarcely can have an unbothered moment with mates. There are always silly girls who think it's okay to interrupt us for the sake of a stupid chat, or to invite me here or there. A bore hardly describable. But that's the least. I must be careful as well. It's true, I like a fuck well enough, but I still care to have it happen for a choice and not an imposition. I always ought to be extra careful with whatever food or drink I intend to consume. Babes just love to slip love potion in whatever. I learned it on my own skin. I must thank God that I was with Francis when I swallowed stupidly the butterbeer that appeared from nowhere on my bedside table an afternoon in my 4th year. He had to beat me up real bad to prevent me to rush to the idiotic girl who had the idea. I struggled like a whomping willow, and I don't even remember having done so. In the end, he had to jinx me, and I spent the rest of the day and night petrified in my bed until I got over it. The next day, I was raging like a rabid dog. I threatened the girl so viciously that she exploded into tears and from then on maintained a more than ample distance. And I sent a furibund letter to Uncle George. Those potions are fucking dangerous. He thought my story a very good fun, however, and not a good enough reason to withdraw them from the market since it is one of the most sold products. But he taught me a useful spell to check whatever the food is poisoned. Later, I realized that Dad uses it all the time when he drinks or eats something outside home. I thought it to Albus as well. Better be safe than sorry. And even if it seems like a blast having plenty of freakishly hot babes willingly open their legs so easily, sometimes it debases me amazingly. They don't give a shit about me. What they really want is only to be seen hanging around with me. They don't give a shit whether I speak or not. And when they do, I regret having ever wished for it. I try sometimes to engage them in a worthwhile conversation, but they always seem kind of shallow and not very interested in me anyway. They don't even see me. They see my dad. There is one who seems interesting. I think I had a pretty bad crush for her. Perhaps I still do. Well, just because it's only me and you, I'll admit it. I actually still do. But she despises me for the use I make of my dad's fame. She doesn't understand anything. It's the only thing that gives me an edge. And anyway, I never use it. It's everybody else that does it for me. I never got anything from him. He has always been so secretive and distant. I always had the impression I didn't know him at all. When Lily died, my impression grew stronger. That was seriously scary. I've never seen him like that. I'm sure he did something nasty to Mama when we left her alone with him. I didn't want to go to the borough. I didn't want to leave Mom, but I have been forced to, and when he came to pick us up, he was like usual, mild and quiet. He had done something to her, and I know exactly what. They won't tell, but I know. I'm not done. I don't want to talk about Mom anyway. The year I freaked out, he finally explained us all what he never did before. I was gobsmacked. Really, he had it tough. I felt sorry for him for a while. I think he understood my point and tried in his way to get close. It'd have been okay, but a bit too late. 14 years too late. For all my childhood, I felt left out. I could see how well he got on with Albus. They always talked and laughed together. I was only the troublesome, the unmanageable. I only wanted the same, perhaps. When Lily arrived, we fell into oblivion. I can understand why. She was real charming, my sister. Cheeky little monkey, I called her. I could understand him being smitten by her. I was smitten too, my little sister. I can still visualize her falling down on the snow. The mayhem that followed, the realization of what happened, the realization that it was my fault. He wasn't Uncle Ron. Everybody thought it was him, but it wasn't. It was me. Mom didn't want to go. Dad neither. They knew Uncle was mad. I knew it too, but I didn't want to miss the fun. Such a spoiled, selfish baby. And she paid. I don't want to talk about her, though. When Dad decided it was time to spend some time with us, that he preferred Albus' company was blatant. So, often, I was going with Mom instead. She was taking me to the team's training, and they were always proper nice with me. Mom was lovely. She was always happy to spend time with me. She would talk to me and listen to me and explain me things. She was always there for me. My mom. But I don't want to talk about her. When Dad found out I was skilled in defense against the dark arts, things changed a bit. I finally felt important in his eyes. There was something I could do well, and he seemed to enjoy my company for once. He would spend hours training me up, and when he did, bit by bit, he started to talk to me like if I was, well, a person at his same level. I liked it. I wanted to be an Auror. I wanted to be like him. What a prat I was in thinking I was worth something. When back at Hogwarts, I could realize it well enough. How people talked about him, or what he did. What could I do to match it? Nothing. I would never have been like him. I would never have been really important to him. There was always Lily first, Albus second, and later Sunrise. Never me. Albus told me it's all bollocks. He gets proper angry when I mention it, which is odd from him. He says I don't understand Dad at all, that he really loved Mom and never cheated on her, that she never told us things because it's difficult for him and wanted to protect us, that I'm actually the sodding apple of everybody's eye, but just too a moron to notice, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, right, I'm blind and he has got the third eye. He's just such a daddy's boy. But then, as well, he seems so much happier than me. I don't understand why. He's called Potter too. He has got exactly the same eyes as him, and they are proper magnets for babes. He never seems too interested though. I thought he was a poof or something at one time. But no, it's only because of Rose. With her, he gets horny enough. Fair enough. Perhaps that helps. Not bragging about girls, I mean, not incestuous love. And he doesn't seem to care whether people like him or not, and everybody adores him anyway. He doesn't do anything special to earn it. He doesn't boast, he doesn't look for troubles, and he has got everybody's respect. Why? Why does he obtain so easily what I must struggle to keep up? And then I cannot help liking him also. I should hate him as I hate Dad, but I can't, not him. Oh yes, you understood perfectly well. I hate my dad, all right? I could be happy if it weren't for him. I hate him for what he did in the past, for what he is. I hate him because everybody loves him, but most of all, I hate him for what he has been incapable to do, in regards of me, but overall in regards of Mom. He let a maniac kill her. He didn't protect her. He left her alone. He didn't care about her as I did. I would never have left her alone. I'll never forgive him this. Never. Mom was the most important person in my life, the only one who understood me, and he hasn't been able to protect her. It's his fault, totally his fault if she died. If it weren't for him, we could all have been happy. I hate him. I wish I wasn't his son. I wish I hadn't this face. They should take away Sunrise for him and not allow him to get close to her anymore. He will ruin her life like he ruined mine, and I cannot stand it. Apparently, he's keeping up the heartbroken bullshit. Aunt Hermione is at our place. Rose told us. He is not well, or so she says. I got 2 letters from him. Albus too. He was very pleased, I could tell. I didn't want to open mine. I shoved them both in my trunk. A couple of nights ago, though, I couldn't sleep. I was keeping turning in my bed, and I was feeling awful. I missed my mom so much. I know I shouldn't. I'm 17, for God's sake, I should know better than sniveling for my mom. But at night time, it gets difficult to have the strength to fight off, well, feelings, I guess. Anyway, upset as I was, without knowing what I was doing, I found myself rummaging in my trunk looking for the letters. I brought them to the common room to read them. It was quite empty, too late into the night to find anybody. There was still a low fire in the fireplace, giving enough light for me to read. My hands were slightly trembling and I didn't even know why. And I began reading. There was nothing special written in them, and I don't know why, but it got to me. They were exactly his style. If he wrote something sentimental, for example, that we will be happy again, or bullshit of that kind, I would have felt right in hating him and chuck everything into the fire straight away. But, as it was, I couldn't. I know all he wanted to convey with those letters, even if he didn't write it down. He didn't need to. I know him well enough to understand his meaning. And it seemed suddenly so blatant, he's genuinely grieving. It was hidden in every line, in every word. And I felt so lonesome and miserable right then that I started to cry. For no apparent reason if not my dejection, but I feel dejected almost every minute of my horrible bloody life, and yet I don't usually weep. And yet I don't usually weep. But that night, I did. I don't know for how long. It felt it was unstoppable. There was nobody around, and I thank God for that. It would have been my death otherwise. Harry Potter's son behaving like a crybaby. I felt ashamed of myself. At my age, a man weeping. Shameful. Especially because while I was crying, I found myself wishing for a visit from Dad. I found myself realizing that I missed him and longed to talk to him for a contact of some kind. And those silly wishes infuriated and humiliated me because I don't need him really. I hate him really. I must hate him. I need to hate him. Otherwise, I don't know. Therefore, I pushed all those shameful feelings at the bottom of me. I locked them up, and I threw what made them surface, that is, the 2 letters, into the fire, rekindling that anger I was entitled to feel. I watched them burn, slowly, and a part of me, the weak one, wanted to snatch them from the fire before it was too late. But I repressed it and hardened. I forced myself, observing them crumbling, all the words disappearing, eaten by the flames. When they were nothing but cinders, I returned to bed, to my sleeplessness, and I felt even worse. For a second, reading those letters, there had been a glimmer of a warm feeling making its way in the sourness. A bit like when I was a kid, I caused mischief and Dad was angry. But when it was bedtime and I felt guilty and couldn't sleep, he would come to kiss me good night because he knew how I felt. He wanted to reassure me. He didn't hold a grudge, and I could certainly indulge then. Reading those letters, it was the same feeling. That night, I turned in bed for quite a long time feeling guilty. But nobody came to appease me. The only thing that could do it was in the fireplace, burned down, turned to cinder.